today I'm going to show you just really briefly how to turn in an assignment if you haven't already figured that out for this first essay coming up is due Thursday night at 11:59 p.m. And so I just want to show you how to start the assignment, turn it in, and then I also want to just run through the rubric, what I'm going to be grading you on, just so that there's no confusion about what I'm looking for. Please remember that you do have the opportunity to rewrite an essay. The first essay is usually always the hardest. And you'll get a lot of feedback from it, and you may not get exactly the grade that you want to have on that, but you do have that opportunity to look at my notes that I'm going to make on your essay and make those revisions and resubmit it for grading, for regrading, if you would like to do that. So when you go to the module, which is the descriptive essay, down at the bottom there is a link to turn it in. So you'll click there, turn it in, and then you'll click the button that says start assignment. And then it'll ask you if you want to upload a file, and you'll click that to upload a file. You'll choose the file. It's easier for me to do it if it's saved as to grade it if it's a PDF or a docx file. So Pages does not translate well with Canvas. So if you're using a Mac, make sure that you convert your document over to a docx or to a .pdf so that it'll be easy to upload. Canvas does not like MacBooks for some reason. It does not translate well. So you'll have to agree to the end use license agreement there, and then you will submit the assignment that way. So I just want to take a look really quick at the rubric, so you'll know exactly where your point values are coming from. Let's start with the easiest one, which everybody should be getting correct on every essay. I'm sorry, I always get the hiccups when I start talking. MLA format. So I went over in detail a screencast on that Essay Resources Help Desk on formatting your paper in MLA format. You get 10 points for every essay for the correct formatting of the page and all of that good stuff. So that's double space, Times New Roman 12-point font, 1-inch margins all the way around. It contains that running header with your last name and the page number, and then that header, that 4 lines of information, which is your name, the class, EH 101, and then my name, and then the date in that proper format. Remember, it's day, month, followed by the year. So that's an easy 10 points. Make sure that you go back and review over that MLA format on the Essay Resources Help Desk to help you with that, okay? You're going to get 10 points for the beginning of your essay. That includes that creative title. It's not going to just say descriptive essay number 1 or essay number 1. You're going to think of a title that you can use to kind of set your paper up. We talked a little bit about titles being kind of significant in that introductions and screencast that I did on this screencast. How a title can definitely set the stage and set the mood for your essay. And so I'm going to be looking for an introduction that's going to grab my attention. It may have a stated or an implied thesis. And you're going to generate interest in that in that introduction to keep your reader wanting to read more and find out more. I'm going to be looking for the identification of your person, place, or event in your introduction with a list of those items that you're going to be discussing in your paper there. And if you need some help with that, make sure that you go back and see that screencast on beginnings, on introductions in the Essay Resources Help Desk, or take a look at my introduction on my sample essay that I provided for you on the descriptive module. Okay, you're also going to get 10 points for your ending, for your conclusion. That's how you're going to close it all out, creating a sense of closure without adding any new material, tying up your loose ends. Don't leave your reader with any unanswered questions, and just really kind of closing it out there. So that is the beginning and the ending. Then I'm going to be looking for organization and plot. So this is what that means. Whatever you list in your thesis, if you say you're going to talk about, I'm going to just use mine as an example because it comes to me quickly. I'm going to be talking about in my essay, and announce this in my introduction, I'm going to be talking about my grandparents And the two objects that remind me of them, the significant objects, and I think I talk about the cookbook first in my I list the cookbook first in my thesis, and then I turn around and list that radio, that stereo radio record player of my granddad's. I'm going to be looking for you to follow that organization throughout your paper. Whatever you decide, order of importance or whatever, then if you list it in your thesis, object 1, object 2, object 3, that's the same pattern that you should follow in your body paragraph. So body paragraph 1 would be about object 1, body paragraph 2 about object 2, so on and so forth, okay? I'm also going to be looking for topic sentences to kind of transition us into each body paragraph. Take a look at that in my sample essay, how I kind of build up that object to at the very first sentence of my body paragraphs, and then I talk about the objects, and then I'm going to close that object out with that connection back to my person, place, or my event before I jump into the next paragraph. So that's definitely something that is very important, the organization and plot. The details. This essay is all about the details. Remember to make a balance between showing and telling, kind of guiding your readers to make conclusions. Like in my essay, my particular essay, you didn't know that my granddad had passed away or that my grandmother had dementia until like the very end, and it's those details that kind of help you help kind of move the plot along, and they make it significant, and I show how significant that is in that concluding paragraph. You're going to use plentiful details. You're going to use interesting details, but you're not going to overkill, right? You don't want to beat your reader to death with, all the 5 sentences of one object, and you're just going to want to kind of use your economy there, which brings me into my next point value is economy. Useless details that have no purpose, we're going to leave those out, right? We're not going to use repetitive, we're not going to be repetitive when we use our thesis statement in the introduction. We're not going to restate that. We're not going to state that exactly in words. We're not going to try to use repetitive words and phrases. You want to get the most said in the fewest words with no fluff and no filler. There's no areas of your paper that need more development or explanation. Okay, your style. You get 10 points for your style. Using active voice, we talked about that, and so what in the 7 common moves. Using creative, precise action verbs. You're moving away from those am, is, are, was, and were verbs, okay? You're using varied sentence patterns. You're not just making those, those short, choppy sentences. I like cheese, cheese is good, let's eat cheese kind of thing. You're trying to play with your language and make those sentence patterns varied. You're wanting to use stylistic moves to kind of keep the paper flowing along. Figurative language, the use of similes and metaphors, those are always good things, and you may not be confident with using those in your writing yet, but I hope very seriously that you start trying to branch out of your comfort zone and using those. And then the last part of that style is you're going to want to avoid second person you in these essays. You can use I, you can use we and they. You just want to avoid you in these first 2 essays especially. There's going to be an essay coming up where you is okay, but I'll let you know ahead of time. So instead of you can always use one. Like one must find a common factor when dealing with, I'm just making up a sentence on the fly. That doesn't even make any sense. But you can use one, or you can use names like your grandmother's name or whatever. Instead of saying the words you frequently, that's something you're going to want to avoid. Your voice and your attitude, that's your individual voice is coming through. You don't sound like a robot. You're not using so many high-dollar words, what's what we call $1 million words, right, that you don't really understand the meaning of. You're just trying to sound smarter. You're going to want to avoid that. The essay is still going to sound like you, but you're just going to take it to another level. and you're going to keep your attitude appropriate to the task, and you're going to be consistent throughout the essay. Okay, the last two are the so what factor. There's got to have that. Remember, we talked about description. Without that so what factor, it's just a list, right? It doesn't have any meaning until we inject meaning into it. So I'm going to be looking for that so what factor, an interesting take on your subject that makes it appeal to all your audience, all your readers, and then that is something definitely that I'm going to be looking for in there. And then your grammar and mechanics. You're going to want to follow those grammar and mechanic rules, the good grammar, good usage, good spelling, good punctuation. Run your paper through Grammarly or through a spell check program to see if you're missing anything. And the way that I always tell my kids, as silly as it sounds, even if you're by yourself, if you'll read your paper out loud to yourself, you will catch almost 90% of those major errors. You will hear where you have messed something up, where you may need to add a comma, and just using your good common sense with that. Now, I'm not expecting these to be perfect, but I am going to be specifically looking for errors with comma use. And then that way I can point them out to you, so you'll have a live example of your errors so that you can fix those in the essays to come. Okay, so altogether 100 points. I will give you very detailed feedback on each one of these areas so that you can take it and view it and make those adjustments for each essay so that you'll grow stronger each time. And by the end of this term, hopefully you are going to be writing papers that you can be really proud of, that will get you the grades that you really want to get. So that's just a really quick screencast. I just wanted to kind of touch base and go over that with you today. Always, if you have any questions or concerns, just shoot me a text or shoot me an email, and I'll be glad to help you with those questions that you have. See you soon.